One more thing. The Mavs could just wait for the offseason to trade Anthony Davis, but is that the best course of action? I don't think so. Lock the Mavs right now. Welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Go check out the FanDuel app to see how you can get access to NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 5 to 6:30 Central Time. I'm joined now by Noah Weber from the Smoking Cuban, Mavs reporter, covering everything, every angle, and we're going to talk about the best storylines to end this season for the Dallas Mavericks, because there's a lot of different things, a lot of things we could talk about. But this is a one more thing bonus episode. If you missed the episode with me and Noah talking about the best things that have happened and the worst things that have happened that nobody's talking about for the Dallas Mavericks, go listen to that one. But let's start here, Noah. Anthony Davis. I think the Mavs have talked about trades. They've talked to a bunch of teams about trades. The rumors have been going on all over the place. Then Anthony Davis has the hand injury, and Mark Stein reported on DLS today. He said right now, there doesn't appear to be anything percolating on an Anthony Davis trade. The reporters keep bringing it up. Well, you've got this guy that's injured. It's going to be harder for him to be traded. But then you hear, the Raptors could still be in on it. You hear that the Warriors now are desperate, and we'll see what happens with them. But I think the biggest storyline for the rest of the season is what they do with Anthony Davis. And I brought this up on a show recently where I said the next 7 games for the Mavericks could define the season. And I actually want to get your thoughts on this because it has to do with the Anthony Davis trade saga. Next 7 games happen before the trade are the 7 games before the trade deadline. They play really good teams. Warriors is the first one, which is actually now that changed a lot. Then the Lakers, then they play Minnesota, they play Houston, they play Boston in that stretch, like some really tough games, some back-to-backs in there. But if the Mavs are good in that stretch of games, they beat teams like New York that they weren't expected to beat. They get some wins here and there. They edge closer and closer to 500, closer and closer to the play-in. They're only a couple games out from that. The Mavs could all of a sudden look at it and say, well, let's just keep Anthony Davis and wait and see what happens, because all of a sudden, if they're good at the trade deadline, they don't trade him then he's just on the roster if they don't trade him by the trade deadline. So then there's like 4 more games after the trade deadline, and then the All-Star break. And then right after the All-Star break, February 19th, is when Anthony Davis' 6 weeks are up for his hand injury. They said that he'd be healed in 6 weeks. He could come back. And February 20th, they play Minnesota. Mid-February is also when we've all expected Kyrie Irving to come back. So the Mavs, I think they could talk themselves into keeping both of those guys. Obviously, keeping Kyrie is nobody's questioning that. But keeping Anthony Davis too through the trade deadline to see what it looks like through the rest of the season, I think this is a real thing the Mavs could talk themselves into.
Yeah, I think it is too. With all the reports about Patrick Dumont wanting to see the big 3 of Flagg, Davis, and Kyrie play together, and with him electing to not get surgery, that's kind of something that he's been, I feel like, known for over the past few years, is kind of avoiding surgery to then be able to come back. And I mean, I could see it. I could see them definitely rolling the dice and keeping Anthony Davis around, because at this point, I feel like the return in an Anthony Davis trade, if they did it right now, this season, I don't see them getting draft capital. I don't think they would, maybe not even get a first round pick. I mean, at this point, I feel like his value has steeped so low. I don't even know what they would get. I don't know if it would be similar to that Trae Young package or what exactly it would be. I mean, they're in a really tough spot because I don't even know. This is a whole nother story, but is his value really going to change that much to the offseason?
See, this is my thing. It's like, all right, if you hold on to him, sure, but you're holding on to him with the idea that he'll increase his value from between now and offseason, the draft. And the 2 things that could happen is Stein pointed out on the show today is that he said there are certainly people around the league who think it'll be easier to move Anthony Davis this summer when Anthony Davis' deal is a year shorter, which I find hilarious because it's only like 30 games left in the season anyway. So you keep that like that's how much longer, like shorter it would be. And he also said more teams are looking to make moves because we have hit a point in the season where a bunch of teams know what you are, and there's not as many buyers right now as there could be in the offseason where a team tries to talk themselves into, all right, we could be better next season. We've got to prove to our fans that we're going to be better. But I don't know that between that point and now that Anthony Davis improves his value any. Like, I guess he could play the rest of the season. He comes back, he would come back with like about 2 months left in the season. I mean, how many games is that? You're talking like, 20 games or something like that. I mean, if he plays 20 straight games, like that would show something to me, but I don't know that it improves that much.
Yeah, and that's also a huge what if, because he hasn't played more than 5 since arriving in Dallas. So who knows if Yeah, I mean, he's really struggled to stay on the court, and it seems like every time that he truly gets rolling and he's playing good basketball, that some other setback appears, and it's just been a never-ending cycle seemingly for the Mavericks and Davis ever since they traded for him a little less than a year ago. So yeah, like you said, I do agree though with the point that in the offseason, teams kind of have a better sense of what they're looking for and what their direction is going to be, more moving parts that they can get moving around because right now some teams either they have their direction, they're ready to go win right now. They have their direction of, hey, we're trying to raise our lottery odds. And then there's some teams like Dallas that are kind of stuck in the middle. But in the offseason, I feel like every team has their direction down. It would be a little bit easier to move him maybe around the time of the draft or whenever they decide to do so. And all of this is going to be about an extension. I think giving Anthony Davis an extension is probably the biggest no-no that the Mavericks should stay away from. Just considering his injury history and how old he's going to be, he does not match up with Cooper Flagg's timeline at all. They should kind of be, in my opinion, they should be all in on building around Flagg and say, hey, you're the head of the snake. We're going to get younger guys that fit you, not trying to get other people to fit around him. Because as you know, outside before the trade, this is a team that was built to win around Luka Doncic. Right. And as we had that episode that we recorded a little while ago, just talking about PJ and Flagg's fit, PJ was traded to play with Luka. Like it's neither one of those guys' faults that they have a little bit of a conflicting play style. But yeah, when it comes to the Anthony Davis trade race, I mean, I don't think it makes a whole lot of a difference when they move on from him when it comes to value. But at least during the summer, the team, hopefully that's trading for him, knows that he's healthy. Hopefully he doesn't have some sort of injury at the end of the season that keeps him out during the offseason. And they would know that he's healthy, and then that the team would know their direction and know kind of what they're working with. And maybe Dallas can get a slightly better return because right now, trading for an injured player, because who knows how he looks when he comes back? Because when the team trades for him, he's going to be injured. Is he really going to be ready to roll before playoffs? Is he going to be on a minutes restriction? What's his hand going to look like? It's so complicated.
I mean, that didn't stop the last team that traded for Anthony Davis, that he was injured when they traded for him. It didn't stop them. The Dallas Mavericks.
It did
not. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems, and this is the time to figure out, we've got to try and streamline all this. We've got to try and make it better. We've got to try and make everything more efficient for our business, because if you're not becoming more efficient every single day, you could be losing out. There's got to be a better way, is what so many small business owners have probably told themselves. Streamlining your communication is one of the quickest ways that you can make that happen. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, Q-U-O. Smarter way to run your business communication, because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating all in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. This is how it works. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed at all, which is awesome. Gone are the days of like the voicemail on the front desk counter. Like you can now do this all just from Quo. Works straight from your computer or your phone. You can even keep your existing number, which is awesome. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps. The details never slip through the cracks. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customers slip away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things over and move on with your day. We all have too much stuff to do all the time. We got to prep. We got to go buy weird food that isn't in tubs, so that in case you can't eat anything during the winter storm, you've got something. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. So you can drop it off at TurboTax, and instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction that you could get. Go check it out. For a limited time, you can get your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, one more question, because I think this is the next storyline for the rest of the season. Are the Mavericks willing to deal Naji Marshall, willing to deal Klay Thompson, willing to deal Daniel Gafford for the rest of the season? Let's just start with Naji Marshall, because I think we talked about Klay and Gafford in the last show we did. But for Naji Marshall, are you willing to deal him for the Mavs?
I'm probably willing to deal him if it's the right deal. It's a really hard situation just because the Mavericks don't have their pick next year. And we talked about that with Klay earlier. And it's a really, really hard situation because Naji has proven that he can thrive in any situation. If you need him to go out there and get 8 assists and run the show a little bit, he can do that. If you need him to play alongside another point guard, be a dog, attack and transition, get to the paint whenever he wants, he can do that too. That's a really, really good question because I'd probably be willing to do it. I think at this point, Naji Marshall could turn the tide of a playoff game single-handedly just because of his intensity, his tenacity, the way that he just attacks the rim and gets to the bucket every single time. He's not going to get played off the floor in the playoffs just because he rises to the moment. He's not scared of anyone, and he just cares so much, and he's an outstanding teammate. So I think he's the type of guy that some contender, if they were to trade for him, their fans are gonna be like, oh my goodness, this guy is an absolute game changer. Why do we not know about him? Because I mean, he has had an incredible season and he's been super fun to watch.
His 3-point shot is not great, 30% on threes, and that has gone up from the beginning of the season because he's hit a couple of them here lately. But he can do a lot of things for you. I think just his tenacity, that Knicks team that we just watched, could use something like that for sure. They could use somebody like that, like a culture guy like Naji Marshall to just always go out there. He always plays. He's played 44 games for the Mavericks. Nobody else has played more than 41, and that's Flagg and Klay Thompson have both played 41. Max Christie's played 40. Brandon Williams played 38. Caleb Martin's played 37. Caleb Martin's 6th on the team in games played this season, by the way, so far. That is an insane stat and should not have happened.
That's a wild stat.
What about Gafford? Should the Mavericks, here's the story for Gafford to me. Should the Mavs be actively looking to get off Gafford's deal, or are you looking to try and get like value? Because it's one or the other for a player if you're trying to trade him.
Yeah, I think with as much smoke that's been coming out on the Gafford front, I think that they're shopping him. I don't think it's to the point that they're trying to. I mean, of course, you want the best value possible, but if I were them, I would probably be exploring Gafford trades. Of course, the Mavs are in a tough spot just because of Dereck Lively II's injury history. But with how Moussa Cisse has played, he has proven that he can be a solid backup big. I don't think he's at the point where you'd want him starting yet, especially next season, because Lively has barely been in the lineup over his first couple seasons in the league. But just with Daniel Gafford's regression, it is a little bit concerning because every time when you're like, oh, he missed a handful of games, he should be fully healed. Like, we should see the Gafford of old. It just hasn't been there, and it's been really confusing just because of how hard he worked last offseason to put on muscle. He was so powerful down low. And yeah, since the Doncic trade, and especially this season, he just has not looked like the same player at all. He's not explosive, and he can't stay on the court. So, I mean, with teams, someone would give up something for Daniel Gafford because, like, I remember even at the beginning of the season, the Pacers were looking for a future pick and roll mate for Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
He would be outstanding in that role because his ability to catch lobs in traffic and just throw it down, bring energy. When the Pacers traded Miles Turner, of course, or not trade, I can't remember if it was a trade or a signing last offseason, but with Miles Turner being gone now, they need another big body down low. Of course, they're going to be at the bottom of the league this year, probably land one of the best 4 players in the draft, add it to Tyrese Halliburton and all of those other guys that they already have. They should be right back to normal.
Boozer, I'm going to just puke.
They're going to get someone good. I mean, their odds are going to be crazy to stay there in the top 4. But yeah, I mean, Gafford.
Gafford's making $14 million this year. That's 9% of your cap. Then next year goes up to 17 with the extension that kicks in. That's 10%. Then 18 million. That's 10%. 18, almost 19 million. That's 10%. Like 10% of your salary cap should go to a guy that can come in and consistently play. And I want to just think it's just the ankle with him this year. I want to think it's just the ankle and point guard play. If it's just that simple, great. But I've not seen the explosiveness from him. Maybe that's just ankle. I've not seen the finishing from him. Maybe that's just the point guards. Like, if they fix both of those things next year, where he gets an offseason where he can get healthy, and then an actual point guard if the Mavericks can bring in one, or if it's just Kyrie and Cooper Flagg getting better, maybe that just fixes this whole situation. But if I'm the Mavs right now, I'm probably looking to get off of that money. But the Mavs have to clear some cap next year. They have to clear something because they are $4 million up, like below the second apron. I said this a million times on the show. They're $4 million up against the second apron next year. They have, without signing the pick next season, who's going to make like between $9 and like $13 million or something. And then they haven't signed Nembhard, haven't signed Moussa Cisse, haven't signed Brandon Williams if they're going to do all those things. So there's a lot of questions still for the rest of the season, but those are the two things that I'm tracking. Noah Weber, go follow him at Noah Weber 00 and go read him on Smoking Cuban. Great stuff happening all the time over there. And then we'll be back with some more episodes. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs. One more thing.
Peace out.